A Grimsley student was shot and killed by a vape shop store employee during a robbery on Battleground Avenue in Greensboro.
Guilford County School's officials confirmed the victim of last night's shooting was in fact a student. WFMY News 2's Jalen Gilkey has been digging into exactly what happened to 17-year-old Gabriel Kalu.
Yes, as you guys all know, this section of Battleground Avenue just north of 73 is a high traffic area filled with shops and restaurants alike. Well, according to Greensboro police, around 8 p.m. last night, 17-year-old Gabriel Kalu and two other suspects entered this tobacco and vape store that you see behind me in an attempted robbery. Greensboro police also shared that the three suspects, they grabbed cash and merchandise while holding an employee at gunpoint. Now, as this attempted robbery took place, the employee fired their own weapon at suspects, and at least one of those shots hit and killed 17-year-old Gabriel Kalu. As we learned from Guilford County Schools, Kalu was currently a student at Grimsley High here in Greensboro. And at this moment, there is limited information that we know. GPD also shared with me that the other two suspects, they have escaped and they are currently on the loose. And if you have any more information, you are highly encouraged to reach out to Greensboro Crime Stoppers.
Jalen, thank you. A Greensboro officer shot in the leg during a domestic dispute outside an IHOP restaurant has been released from the hospital. Officer H.L. Jefferson responded to the restaurant on Lanata Road just off West Wendover Avenue. Officials say a struggle took place when Jefferson tried to arrest 22-year-old Candicia Melanie Clark. Police said during this struggle, Clark reached for Jefferson's gun and it went off. Clark was charged with assault with a deadly weapon on a law enforcement officer, and the other charges are pending.
Philip Adams, a former NFL player accused of killing 6 people in Rock Hill, showed signs of severe brain damage caused by CTE. Now, this is according to a researcher from Boston University. A neuropathologist says Adams had severe CTE in both frontal lobes of his brain. The York County coroner says Adams' family told officials he had previously complained of excruciating pain, memory issues, and difficult sleeping late in his life. Researchers say stage 2 CTE is associated with aggression, impulsivity, depression, paranoia, anxiety, and memory loss. Doctors believe Adams' 20-year football career played a role in his diagnosis.
In its frontal lobe predominance, Adams' CTE pathology was similar to that of another young NFL player, namely Aaron Hernandez. Severe frontal lobe pathology might have contributed to Adams' behavioral abnormalities.
Doctors say they've seen homicidal behavior in CTE patients before, but it's difficult to say if that alone contributed to Adams' violence because other factors play into homicidal tendencies. Today marks a big day in North Carolina history. The first day coronavirus vaccines were delivered to healthcare workers or healthcare systems in our state, and the day the first doses of the vaccine were administered. Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist received the first shipment here in the Triad. Wake Forest Baptist and 10 other sites were chosen for the first round of shipments because they had ultra cold freezers to store the Pfizer vaccine. The first shipment was about 2,900 doses. The first dose of the vaccine was given to Dr. Katie Passerati with Atrium Health in Charlotte.
Governor Roy Cooper said it's been a year full of ups and downs as we learn more about this virus, but we can't let our guard down. At least 73% of adults in our state have received one dose of the vaccine. 62% of kids 5 and up have gotten at least one dose of the vaccine, and the FDA just approved them for vaccinations last month. Governor Cooper adds, while this is great news, we still need to be cautious over the holidays.
COVID infections rose after the Thanksgiving holidays, both this year and last. And as we gather again in December, we should get vaccinated to protect ourselves, our loved ones, and others around us from severe COVID or even worse. With cases rising, it's also a good idea to get tested before you gather and wear a mask when you're inside a public place.
The governor's coronavirus task force highlighted the increases in multiple numbers. Hospitalizations is one of them. Today, the state is reporting 1,575 patients. It's the highest number since October 22nd, nearly 2 months ago. Now, back then, the metrics, as you can see, was on the decline, But now it's the opposite. Another number that's just too high, percent positives. The latest is 9.2%. All of our recent numbers have been pretty high. In the past 2 weeks, not a single day was below the state's goal of 5%, that red line right there.
Rockingham County Schools says masks will be optional for students, teachers, and staff after the Christmas break. So that's starting January 4th. The updated policy will apply to all district campuses and facilities. Masks will still be required on school buses and for pre-K and Head Start classes. 2 other Triad school districts will revisit their mask policies at board meetings tonight. Guilford County Schools and Winston-Salem Forsyth County School Districts both meet tonight. Mask policies are on the agenda, but keep in mind, it's now a state law for school districts to revisit their mask policy monthly. The North Carolina State Department of Health confirmed its first flu death of the season. Health leaders say the person was from the western part of the state and passed last week. Officials say a year was historically low for flu season, but this year the state is seeing the most flu activity since before the pandemic.
The Air Force has discharged 27 service members for failing to get the COVID-19 vaccine. These are the first service members to be involuntarily discharged for breaking the rule. A spokesperson for the Air Force said the active duty members received counseling about the vaccines. All members were in the Air Force for less than 6 years. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin mandated troops to get the COVID vaccine in August, but left it up to the services to set the deadlines for their troops. The Army's deadline for its active duty force is December 15th.
Well, today is Tuesday, December 14th, and we are exactly a week away from that winter solstice, but it hasn't been feeling like winter outside. These temperatures on the warmer side of things and way warmer than they should be for this time of year. But we have been able to see some very blue skies, and that's due to these very cold temperatures, not allowing for that humidity and allowing for those blue oases in our skies. This is at sunrise earlier today, and then continue with blue skies throughout much of the day. Not even a cloud in sight at Truist Field. And then as that sun continues to make its way around the globe, it's going to set very soon. We're about just an hour away from that. So temperatures across the area of 59 degrees currently in Greensboro, a little bit warmer in Winston-Salem, sitting at a good old 61. But like I said, we're a week away from that winter solstice, that what astronomers sort of classify as now transitioning into the winter season. But it shouldn't feel this warm. I mean, 61, 60 in Burlington, and the winds now coming out of the northwest. That's what's dictating these cooler temperatures, but still way warmer than they should be for this time of year. And the forecast calls for warmer temperatures. Gradually, day by day, we'll be warming up. But tomorrow, we're going to be on a cool down. But after that, I mean, back to 60s, even potentially getting to a 70 before the end of the week. That high pressure able to pump in that cooler air. But like I said, warmer numbers are in the forecast.
Hey, before we go to break, we want to remind you there's still time to sign up for our 57th annual blood drive with the American Red Cross. 57 years. Our blood drive this year at Piedmont Hall, which is on the grounds of the Greensboro Coliseum Complex. WFMY News 2's Tanya Rivera is there. You can say hello to her when you donate, and we'll check in with her, by the way, in our next half an hour. There are appointments every 15 minutes for donations. You can sign up on our website, WFMYnews2.com.
Every year around this time you hear the distinct sound of the ringing bell. The red kettles you see outside shopping centers are there so the Salvation Army can help others. But now the organization needs help ringing those bells to keep those donations coming. The Salvation Army of Greensboro and Greater Winston-Salem say they're in desperate need of bell ringers. Dean Browder can be found ringing the bell in front of the Lowe's Foods on Robin Hood Road in Winston-Salem. For the past 20 years, he's volunteered for the Salvation Army with the Mount Tabor United Methodist Men's Group. He says this year's volunteer turnout is different from years past.
It's a little harder this year, and last year we skipped it all together because people just did not want to participate with the pandemic, but this year they're coming back and wanting to help. It's not back as much as it was before, but it's a little harder to get the volunteers this year.
The Salvation Army of Greensboro says it currently has half as many bell ringing volunteers compared to 2019. Major Andrew Wiley with the Salvation Army of Greater Winston-Salem says prior to the pandemic, the group had up to 300 volunteers sign up to ring bells. This year, he says there are about 75 volunteers. The money raised helps the Salvation Army of Greater Winston-Salem operate its emergency family shelter, Boys and Girls Club, as well as provide Christmas gifts to more than 2,000 children in the area.
Get a family group, get a group of co-workers and share the day so you're not having to do it all day. You can do an hour or two and have a friend come and take over. So there are ways to do it that aren't so overwhelming. We just need people to step up and help us. We're grateful for those that have. We need more to do so.
Wiley says the pandemic has pushed the organization to promote online giving and has created more ways for others to give safely. He says the organization also accepts Venmo, Google, and Apple Pay at its on-site kettle locations. If you are interested in volunteering your time to ring bells or you just want to make a monetary donation, look for this story on our website. So as you can see, there is that great need of volunteers this year.
We were talking about this earlier today, and it's actually ironic because last week my wife and I were having this discussion. I don't remember seeing as many of them. You know, I'd go to the same places, the grocery stores where they normally would be, and I wouldn't see it, and I didn't know until you did the story that was a problem.
I can honestly say today doing the story was the first time that I've actually seen one of them in person myself this holiday season.
I didn't even realize this until today, and then I started thinking about it and I was like, wow, I have not seen a single one since I've been out. And I mean, I've been shopping and doing all that kind of stuff for Christmas and everything, and it's kind of weird to notice that, but hopefully they get more volunteers or at least more monetary donations.
Absolutely. And I know there's the online option, but just having that presence when you go into a store, you're like, oh, the bell ringers are there. Let me get a couple of dollars or get a few dollar cash to go on my way out. But if they're not there, it might not even be top of mind to actually donate.
I know in the past I've seen Chad Silber had volunteered a few times to go out, so that would be a good thing to do. To head out there.
Would be.
It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Do it in pairs.
Yeah, because he said, you know, do it with your coworkers, do it with some friends. So
phenomenal. We'll think about that.
Yeah.
Give us a note on Facebook. Let us know what you think about that. Would you be willing to help out? We're coming back.
Alrighty then, so weather is always ever changing, but now it's changing in the warmer direction. High pressure in place. It's going to be pumping in this cooler air for today, and a little bit will settle in for tomorrow. But after that, the temperatures are going to warm up through the end of the week, and that's because this warm front's going to lift. This cold front's going to make its way closer here, but ahead of that cold front, those temperatures are going to warm up, and so will that humidity. And with that cold front just out ahead of it, we could possibly see some rain, and so some rain chances are added into the forecast. But hold on tight, not just quite yet. Those temperatures for tonight falling down into the 30s, and tomorrow back around the mid 50s. Now this is more seasonable, but after tomorrow, it's going to just be warm. It won't feel like winter at all. 60s for you, 65 forecasting the high on Thursday, 69 on Friday and Saturday, 71. I just told you next week is the start to winter by astronomers. That winter solstice on Tuesday, 71 degrees. It should not be that warm, but I'll take it. I like the spring weather. 71 degrees on Saturday. And like I said, those rain chances will return for the weekend, but a chilly rain by Sunday. That means those temperatures will quickly take a tumble. I have that full forecast to show you when exactly and how cold it will get and how long that rain will last. We haven't seen rain in quite a while, so a lot of big questions that I will be answering before the 4 p.m. hour ends.
You know, when you have little ones, they love story time. I know mine did, especially when we go to the library to hear story time. But turn this into a pajama party now, you've got something. I spoke with Kelly Proudfit with Glen McNary Library Branch to tell us about their pajama story time through Zoom. She says it's something the kids look forward to every time they do it.
It's just like a regular story time, but we do it on Zoom. You need to register ahead of time. And we just do everything we usually do in story time. We do books and songs and rhymes and things on the flannel board and just try to engage children and have a really fun time together.
Kelly says with a lot of the library programs, they actually looked forward to getting back in-person events back in the pandemic. But with this one, she said it allows the kids to get really personal and genuinely just settle them down before bedtime.
The best part about I've found about having to switch over to doing it on Zoom is because kids are in their homes. Sometimes you get to meet their pets. Sometimes if we do a stuffed animal story time and they're in their pajamas, they can show us their favorite stuffed animal. So it's that part of it is really fun. It's a different interaction than we've had before at the library, but it gets to be a little bit more personal and fun for everybody.
It was interesting because that's what happened when the kids were working remotely during the pandemic for school. They would have pet day. And so like my little girl, I guess she was in 2nd grade then, and she would bring her little guinea pigs and hold them up. You know, all the kids in those little squares had their animals. It was really cute.
That's really sweet. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
We're like,
are you going to talk?
I'm so glad that they're able to continue this tradition, because when I was little, story time before bed was a big deal. Like my parents and I, we would pick a book, and when I was learning how to read, like I would read a page, then when my parents would read a page, and I always look forward to it. My mom was really good at making like the different voices and stuff.
Yeah.
And then my dad, Green Eggs and Ham was his favorite one to read with me.
That's it.
What about you growing up? Do you remember the story, like the bedtime books?
So as I'm starting to read more books for Baylor, I remember I loved Chicka Chicka Boom Boom.
Yes,
oh yeah,
yes.
that's a good one.
And we read that a lot because her eye, like she just focuses in on that one. So clearly she likes it too, I guess.
My wife has the book that her mother would read to her that was a Sesame Street book with Grover, and I think it's like there's a monster in my closet or something, and Grover finds out that he is the monster. But that same book, I mean, this is a book that goes back to the 80s, and now we're reading it. We read it for Drew. She's too old for it
so
now.
she can read it to her daughter or son. I love that.
Yeah, there's
That's
like
so
3 of those
sweet.
books that Leslie still has from childhood. And one thing I have to ask this though, P-A-J-A, how do you say?
Oh, we were just talking about
that's
that. Pajamas.
Pajama.
Okay, so that's what I said. My wife's from the Northeast. She says pajamas.
So my
Pajama.
husband, he's just from Virginia, but he said, I noticed the other day he said pajama, and I'm like,
I know.
what?
So I found myself, this is weird, as I was talking to someone about this story today, I said it both ways. And it's because I'm getting the influence of my wife saying it.
Yeah. When you asked me, I was like, how do I say it? I probably have said it both ways before.
Yeah.
Pajama is a southern way, I think.
Or just say
Draw out the
PJs.
A. Yeah.
Yeah, we slur everything together.
Yeah.
Put on pajamas.
Either way, I would love to be in my pajamas.
Oh, me too.
Get some sleep right now.
We should have a pajama party on the 4 to 5.
That'd be fun.
That's right. Bunny slippers. We'll be right back.
In today's U Day lesson, Coach Lamont reflects on how the ending of your story is what you make it.
It's possible to believe too much of our own story, that we never find the freedom and healing that we need. This happens when you see yourself out of the lenses of your pain and have completely dismissed healing as a possibility. We can believe our story so much that we are blinded by the events that have actually taken place. It is because of our story, it is what we've already lived, that we think to ourselves that we can't be healed. I would ask myself over and over again, is this healing really possible for me? When we ask these questions, we are forced to answer ourselves because all the answers live within. And the more dialogue that we have with ourselves, the more we learn. The first thing I had to do is I had to stop replaying my story. The first part of your story is always disempowering. The second part is being written. Healing can happen, but we must be willing to go through the process.
That one hits kind of close to home for me. I'll share with you all, I've been in a situation where I've been in a dark place where I feel like it's not going to get better. How do I get out of this? And I would say talking to somebody about it was the first step. And then removing myself from certain environments, around certain circles of people really helps, because you can get in that place where you're just like, it's just not going to get better. But I'm a testament that it can get better.
Yes, I like that story. It's there's a fine line between looking back and reliving all that so much that you're missing out on the present and the future. And I think you have to look back enough to draw that lesson and then apply that and move on. At some point, you have to let it go.
Yeah, I think it's really important that when you look back at things that you've been through in life, it's not looking back like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was there at that one point. It's looking back and saying, wow, look where I am now.
Yeah, right.
Like a year ago, I was not working a job at all. And for an entire year, I did not have a job. I was in my parents' home. I have multiple degrees, and I was looking at the world like, why me? But look where I am now. And so I'm looking at that moment as that was just a moment in time, but I'm here now and I'm grateful for it. And so yeah, it was low, but look where you are. A beautiful woman standing here telling the news each and every day. And we're so grateful to have you here, Lauren, on the 4 to 5.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you. You too, Monique.
Yeah, thank you, Monique and Lauren, for both sharing that. It's so sweet of both of you. And I've been in something similar. I think everyone's kind of had a time in their life where they've just really struggled and they needed just help, and that's totally fine. And I think, you know, along with having a professional help me, also just looking to God. I am a believer, and I stay strong in my faith as much as I can. And sometimes just stepping back and saying, okay, I just need to let go of this stress and this worry, because it's not necessary for me to worry about anymore. God's got me, and I just have to remind myself that.
Things can always be worse. I think that's what most of us can say to ourselves and get through it. And the line I always like is that everybody faces adversity, but it's what you do with it that defines who you are. So you can't tell a kid when they're growing up, you're not going to face, you will face something at some level. Some people are worse than others, but what you do with it is.
I think they say it's like 90% how you respond to it, and then 10% what happens to you.
Yeah.
See, all this wise advice we're throwing out today,
4 to 5
free.
church.
Yes.
4 to 5 therapy session. We're here every day. We'll see you.
U
in
Day
just a
Part
minute.
2.
Our day.
That's because I had it on mute. So sorry. Glad you caught that. I am talking about how to talk to children about natural disasters.
Ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie, they forever go together like a classic combination when a dark delicious cookie meets an icy cold sensation. It's the one and only creamy chocolate Oreo.
Welcome back to the 4 to 5. I'm Lauren Coleman here with Eric Chilton, Stacey Spivey, and Monique Robinson. Hey, y'all.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on the 4 to 5 right here on WFMY News 2, Fire Stick, Roku, and the News 2 app for your TV, phone, or tablet. So many ways you can watch and interact with us also on Facebook. But we want to get to our top story today. 74 people are dead in Kentucky following what's being deemed one of the worst tornado events in Kentucky history. Officials believe that number will grow over the next several days.
Crews and families have started clearing away debris and assessing that damage. More than 150 rooms have been provided for displaced residents and families needing emergency housing. At least 14 other people were killed in Arkansas, Illinois, Tennessee, and Missouri. President Joe Biden is scheduled to visit Kentucky tomorrow to assess the damage and speak with the state officials.
One of the hardest hit areas is Mayfield, Kentucky. Crews digging through the rubble of a candle factory. They believe that they have located everyone missing there, but unfortunately 8 people died at the factory. Samaritan's Purse has volunteers in Mayfield who say they're concerned about tomorrow's forecast, hurting cleanup efforts.
As we do look at the forecast, a sense of dread across the community as rain is predicted to come in starting tomorrow afternoon, I believe, through Friday morning. So, there is a sense of urgency, trying to get as many things tarped up as possible.
Samaritan's Purse has more than 100 volunteers on the ground in Mayfield and another team in Bowling Green.
You can see in this video behind me what volunteers and residents are dealing with. This drive looks nearly cleared of any trees, with most of them snapped in half. Belongings are thrown everywhere, and it's taking massive pieces of equipment to sort through the damage. One woman's home was completely leveled by the storm, leaving nothing but the foundation behind. Today, Kentucky's governor takes a look at the damage.
It's hard to tell what used to stand here in this community. We are in Muhlenberg County, where 2 tornadoes touched down here, killing at least 11 people. And so far, county officials still don't know the full extent of the damage. They are still waiting to clear some areas to better survey it. And one of those surveyors today was Governor Andy Beshear, who took time to meet some of the locals here and also get a better look at what's happening. And so far, we know one tornado traveled for 17 miles, destroying many homes here, as a lot of these families are still now trying to figure out what to do next. The youngest victim, only 5 months old, the oldest was in her 70s.
So hard to see. A baby girl is one of the latest deaths reported from these storms. Oakland Kuhn died at a hospital yesterday morning. Her parents say they protected her during the storm by putting her in a car seat. Upon initial medical tests, Oakland appeared to be fine, but her dad said doctors later found bleeding in her brain. The parents were forced to make the difficult decision of taking her off life support.
I didn't want her to suffer any longer than what she was suffering. I'm gonna miss absolutely everything about her. I'm gonna miss her crying in the middle of the night and waking me up. I'm gonna miss her, not wanting to be put down, wanting her daddy and mommy to hold her. I'm just gonna miss her in general.
Oakland is the youngest victim of these storms, and of course our thoughts and prayers go to her family.
Well, this is a conversation that can be difficult to have with your children, talking about the unpredictability of natural disasters. Blanca Cobb has a master's degree in psychology, and we're talking about this today. And some parents, and understandably so, Blanca, they're a little more reluctant to talk to their kids about natural disasters. Why is that?
It's a really good point you bring up, Eric. Parents get worried because they don't want to make their children more scared, right? Life can be scary. So some parents feel if they don't talk about it, their kids are not going to be exposed to it. But here's the deal, though. Information goes so quickly at school, friends, kids see TV shows, the news, social media. So the information is out there. And think about this also. Schools have fire drills and tornado drills. So they're already getting some exposure to this. And it really helps if parents can fill in the blanks, because a lot of times children have unanswered questions.
So then what do you say to young children about natural disasters? How do you start that conversation?
A lot of times you can use a news story as a jumping off point. And with younger children, you might want to do a wait and see approach and see what they tell you. What have they heard from their friends or at school? And then you answer their questions. But the key with young children, you want to make sure that your answers are short and to the point and not a lot of details. The main questions that young children have is, will it happen here and will I be safe? Those are the main two questions that a majority of young children have for parents.
All right, so let's flip the coin then, talk about older kids, because that's a whole different conversation. How do you approach that?
Absolutely correct. It is a whole different conversation. With older kids, they're going to want a more deep dive into the topic. They're going to want to, sometimes they want to know the likelihood. How does that happen? Some might have weather questions. Well, what happens in the weather that would even cause a tornado? They might want to say, well, what would we do if our house was demolished because of a natural disaster? How are we going to stay safe? What is our plan? So they're going to have more thought-provoking questions for parents. But one thing that parents should keep in mind at all times, regardless of how old your children are, is this: the calmer you are, the calmer and more relaxed your children are going to be, because they're looking at you for guidance on how to respond in crisis situations.
Blanca, thank you. And if you're at home and you're still unsure about how to have this conversation, you can refer back to this segment anytime you want to. It's on our website, WFMYnews2.com. One thing that Blanca says that's so very true is that your demeanor determines how they react. And that even goes for little bumps and bruises on a playground. If you're that reactive parent that runs up and, are you okay? You instill fear in them. It's the same story. And even older kids, I think, they still subconsciously look to the parent to see what the level of anxiety is.
I would even say as a young adult as well, like if your family's going through something and you see them being anxious, you're going to be worried and concerned too. But when I see my parents, just have an open, honest conversation with me, it calms me down that I don't need to be worrying about whatever, the situation is.
You're about to experience
I
all
was
of
just
this.
about to say, I haven't gotten to that point yet, except for like if she, the other day she kind of headbutted me and she kind of looked at me like,
What
am
happened?
I supposed to cry? And, I of course was like, I'm so sorry, but I need to remember to remain calm. But I think back to how my parents handled 9/11 when I was in 5th grade when that happened. And I think that they did a good job. My mom was really calm when I had questions. She answered, but she said, hey, I'm gonna let you watch this news coverage for this amount of time, but then I want you to go and do something else. And I really appreciated her for doing that, because I think I was able to watch, I was able to ask questions, but she didn't want me to be fully focused on it 24/7.
That's a good example.
Yeah, even as adults, you don't want to sit there and watch that for like 10 hours. It gets to be too much.
Weighs on you.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, refer back to that segment. It's on our website if you need it, Money.
Although rain may be a concern elsewhere, here at home, things are going to be dry, at least for today and tomorrow. Our radar keeping the same picture, no rain in sight. Those rain chances don't return until we go into the weekend. We've been longing for rain, and doesn't look as though this weekend provides much impressive rainfall, but to start next week, some models could be hinting at the sign of some even more rain, which could definitely be helpful as we've been in this very long dry spell. Here's a look at it. That cold front that's sweeping across much of the Midwest, inching its way closer to us by Friday, and then potentially bringing us rain for the weekend. So your Saturday and even your Sunday, and then continuing through Monday with another system that could be riding up along the southeast coast. Now the question is, will it stay far enough east where we won't get anything? Or will it move a little bit further inland where we could see something? And as we go closer and closer towards the Tuesday, Monday time frame, we'll be able to get a better idea of where exactly that rain will go. But over the next couple of days, like I said, rainfall in the forecast. But look at these rainfall totals. Not really too much of it, at least through early Sunday morning. We're not talking about a significant amount of rain, and we all need it. No matter where you are across North Carolina, you all need rain. Here's a look at that full 7-day and showing you as we start out next week, there's a greater possibility of us to get to see some rain.
It was a successful show for dear Evan Hansen at the Tanger Center. The show sold out 98% of its seats for the relaunch of their North American tour. The show also highlighted the importance of seeking help when struggling with mental illness. It's a message one Greensboro organization recognized and appreciated when the show debuted. Sanctuary House connects adults with mental illness to support and rehabilitation services in Guilford County. A dear Evan Hansen actor passed the Sanctuary House every day on his way to the Tanger Center and noticed these signs outside of Sanctuary House. The signs read, "When you shine a light on mental health, you are not alone," which incorporated one of the musical numbers from the show. Executive Director Jody Lorenzo discussed the actor's visit to Sanctuary House.
To see individuals who experience mental health conditions living joyfully and with purpose, he said that struck him. He said it spoke to him about the human condition, is that there is hope out there.
That is amazing. If you or someone you know is seeking support for their mental health, Sanctuary House is located on North Elm Street in Greensboro. You can call them at this number, 336-275-7896. It's important to know members do not live at Sanctuary House. It is a place to offer support through meetings and events with members.
2 Wants to Know is live on location. We are here live at Piedmont Hall for the holiday blood drive. Hey, Stacy, this is a tradition, 57 years in the making.
Yeah, and it really couldn't be better timing with the blood needs for those impacted by the tornadoes.
Yeah, absolutely right. Even before those tornadoes touched down, we were having historic lows when it comes to blood supply. The Red Cross is delivering comfort and help by sending people and relief and shipping hundreds of units of blood. On the website, it says additional blood products provided to area hospitals in response to tornado outbreak, further straining historically low blood supply.
We have this unique ability within the Red Cross to be able to make sure that that blood is distributed when and where it is needed. So that may be locally within the Triad area. It could be in another part of North Carolina. And it could also be to help victims who have been affected by disasters across the country.
The Red Cross has been asking for 2 things, money donations and then blood donations. The blood donation is what you're seeing going on right here. The blood donation helps those impacted by the emergency needs. And don't miss this, it also helps right here in your community who need blood on a consistent basis.
The need right now is very critical. We are facing an emergency shortage. And what that means is that our blood supply has dropped to historically low levels. So that means that we could be coming to a point where doctors will have to tell patients that they have to wait for surgeries because there isn't enough blood available on the shelves. We do our best to provide our hospital partners with the blood that they need so that no patient has to wait.
All right, so far, here's the leaderboard, 216 units collected. That means 648 lives so far. Hey, guess what? You can be part of the numbers. You can make an appointment, or you can just simply walk in, sit down, wait for your appointment. Where are we? Let's give you the details one more time. The holiday blood drive is at Piedmont Hall, and we are here until 7 o'clock tonight. That means if you get here by 7, they will make sure that your donation gets made.
together. Well, did anyone else get stuck in that bad traffic this morning on Bryan Boulevard in Greensboro? Some of us at work sat in that traffic and waited it out, while others said, no way, and found an alternate route. Now, this got us thinking, what kind of person are you? So I asked on Facebook, and here's what some of you had to say. Felicia says, gotta find a different way. Ain't nobody got time for that. Kelly takes her own detour. Sheila writes, I like to find a new way. I'm impatient and it stresses me out. I've learned to be much more patient, but still look for another way. Curtis likes to find a different way if possible. Paul says, find a different way if possible. If not, just be patient. Rather be a little late than be the late Paul C. And Libby shares, if I can safely take another route, I will. Otherwise, I'll just patiently wait. I'm not going to risk my life or another person's life to get somewhere. However, I will say this morning, when I saw all the traffic and I was like headed that way, I was like, oh no, I'm gonna go this way now. But it probably took me longer than it would have if I would have just waited, because I went a roundabout way and it took me a long time to get here.
The one thing when there's an accident and there's traffic that I can't stand is when those people that keep driving all the way down and then at the last minute they want to merge in.
Yes.
And I said, if I had to, merge early, you need to wait, then I don't let those people in.
I don't either. They drive me nuts.
Yeah.
Monique?
I'm quiet because I'm a Northeast driver.
Oh, so you're one of those.
I'm like, I honk the horn. I'm just gonna not talk.
Probably best.
My wife says the same thing. She's from Buffalo, and she goes, nobody uses the horn. She goes, we use the horn from everything to say hey, to get out of the way.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing. No, for me, I will wait, but I reach a limit, and then I will go somewhere, another route or something. But the trouble is, you go out and you look at your GPS, and sometimes you don't know how to get back to where you needed to get. You know what I mean?
Recalculating.
Recalculating.
The traffic. I don't think anybody likes it.
No, I can't say
I don't like driving.
Same.
Me neither.
I don't like to drive at all.
Same.
If I could teleport everywhere, I would.
I love to drive.
I always say I could be a genie and go like
Might
this.
be.
And
I know.
Just be...
Like snap your
Now-
fingers and you're somewhere else.
I love driving around the area, like the Triad. I hate long trips. Anything over 5 hours, and I'd rather fly.
Yeah, my butt starts hurting and stuff, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's
I need to
horrible.
get out and walk around. This is
Yeah.
too much.
I just feel like I'm on edge. I'd much rather be doing something else. So
Yeah.
no. I make
Very
Jake
true.
drive.
I do think it's a guy thing to like to drive a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know why, what that is. Anyway, think about that. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Well, in case you didn't know, 25 movies were added to what's called the National Film Registry today. We looked at this. That's an organization that selects 25 films each year, and they describe it like this, quote, films that showcase the range and diversity of American film heritage to increase awareness for its preservation. This year it featured movies like Return of the Jedi and Fellowship of the Rings and WALL-E. But I asked you on Facebook, which movie do you think should have been inducted if you could make the rules here? MD Moore says this is a good question. There were some movies on that list that, and some like one called Hellbound Train that I would like to see. Stacy says every Harry Potter movie, they all had such a huge impact on my generation, and their 20th anniversary is coming up, very true. Justice H says Good Will Hunting is my classic. Nora says, I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a collection should be listed on this. So it's interesting because it's really not popular movies. It's movies that made a difference in some way and made a statement in some way. And so it's fascinating. If you look back, there was one film, the one that MD Moore talked about, it's called Hellbound Train, was made in 1930. It was an all-black cast. It was not white people playing the roles. It was actually African Americans in the roles, a director, everybody, and it's very rare to see that. There was even one clip they said that went back to 1903. That was a Ringling Brothers clip that just showed some unique perspective there. So interesting what they take as kind of criteria to get in that list.
Yeah, I'm looking up the list right now because I was interested in seeing what other films were added. And I thought Selena, that was a good one to be added to the list.
There was a lot of children's movies on there too. They had Shrek, Lion King.
Oh, Lion King.
Yeah, and Lauren was looking back in previous years too, Lauren, right? Because there were hundreds of movies.
Like 1925, 1915, things like that.
Now remind me, which one is Return of the Jedi?
That's it's the one that came out after Star Wars, so. Yeah, I'm sorry. Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and those were the first three.
Okay, so it was the last. Oh, that's when.
That was 1983.
Luke, I am your father, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I think of all the movie storylines to make the most difference on my life was probably Cinderella.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
I love it.
Just like you're different, but it's okay. I feel like that's the message I always got from her.
It's very cool.
Shrek kind of has that message too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. We'll be right back.
I learned, I've never done a tag board before, so I don't know how to use that yet. 1, 2, 3. So you could show me.
We never really do that before.
Oh, gotta move. We'll talk later. Okay. Goodbye. Thank you.
Hey, I'm headed in there right now. Can I go ahead and turn the camera, or do I need to?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Two other male suspects. According to Greensboro police,
Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That can work. It'd be more like a.
Hello, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie.
Hey, mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3.
It's time for my 2 cents. My heart breaks over the loss and devastation from the weekend's tornado outbreak. Thousands are hurting, mourning, and trying to start the healing process. But this is also personal for me. The nursing home hit in Arkansas was not too far from where I went to college. Many friends and former classmates still live in that area. Many are also from those small towns where homes and businesses were completely destroyed. I was following the storm all night, worried about my home state. Thankfully, all of my people are okay, but the same can't be said for countless others. Through the heartache, what is really special to see? My new home helping my childhood home. Organizations like Samaritan's Purse deploying trucks from their North Wilkesboro base to Arkansas. Plus Red Cross and Baptist on Mission helping in other states hit by the storms. Their efforts reminded me of how lucky we are to live in a place where people pour their hearts into helping others, strangers thousands of miles away. And personally, 2 places that have my heart beating as one in the midst of tragedy. That's just my 2 cents. That's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts right now.
I do believe this is my path. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Shot in the line of duty, a Triad police officer retires. His plan to keep inspiring others.
Meanwhile, the search for